Welcome to CBN NewsWatch for Monday, July 5th, 2021. Coming up, while Tropical Storm Elsa heads toward Florida, crews demolish the remaining structure of the partially collapsed condo in Surfside. We will have the latest. Plus, razor-thin margin, the Southern Baptist Convention elects Ed Litton as its president, making his first challenge, unity.
We need awakening. We need revival in our hearts.
He shares his vision with CBN News. Hackers target the United States.
They went after our gas and they went after our hot dogs. No one is out of bounds here. Everyone is in play.
In an eye-opening report, we explore the possible impact on our nation's power grids. See this and more coming up.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Tropical Storm Elsa is barreling toward Florida, and crews overnight demolished the remaining structure of the partially collapsed condo building in the town of Surfside. Dale Hurd has more.
After a series of controlled explosions, the remaining portion of the building came crashing down Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. local time. The blast was designed to fall away from the existing rubble, to give search and rescue crews additional room to look for the 121 people still missing after part of the building collapsed June 24th.
Gravity will pull it almost everything straight down, but it will have a little tilt to it where the material wants to stay away from the collapsed part so they can continue their recovery.
Officials wanted to bring down the remaining structure before any impacts from Tropical Storm Elsa are felt in the area.
Now, the impacts from the storm, whether it's a strong tropical storm or a weak hurricane, will begin affecting the Florida Keys and portions of the South Florida Peninsula as early as Monday. So we're preparing for the risk of isolated tornadoes, storm surge, heavy rainfall, and flash flooding. Earlier Sunday, officials searched for any pets left in the building, as officials acknowledge the odds of finding survivors are dwindling. An Israeli search and rescue operations expert told a Miami TV station he no longer believes there are any survivors under the rubble.
The circumstances, as we saw the last few days, are too difficult for me to say professionally that I believe that there is a solid chance to find somebody alive.
This local resident complained the rescue and demolition process has been too slow.
It shouldn't be weeks to do something. You got to cut red tape right away, and it shouldn't have taken the storm because we have our rescue workers there, and it was shifting.
4th of July fireworks on Miami Beach were canceled this weekend as the area instead honored the victims and first responders. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
In other news, the new president of the Southern Baptist Convention spoke with CBN News about his big agenda for the country's largest Protestant denomination. This includes unifying a divided denomination, promoting church planting, and addressing sex abuse and racial reconciliation. Heather Sells brings us the story.
Ed Litton narrowly won the presidency of the Southern Baptist Convention. He ran on a platform of gospel unity, and that's no doubt his biggest challenge.
We need awakening. We need revival in our hearts.
The 14 million member denomination finds itself at a crossroads, with various factions at odds over how to handle sex abuse and hot political topics like race. At June's annual meeting, outgoing President J.D. Greer chastised the flock.
God has not called us primarily to save America politically. He has called us to make the gospel known to all.
Litton acknowledges there's some tough work to be done.
We need some of these very negative things that have gone on between us to be confessed, dealt with, forgiven.
Still, he's hopeful, noting a wide show of support even after the close election.
They came up and said, hey, I didn't vote for you, but I love you and I'm praying for you.
His immediate challenge, name a task force to oversee an independent investigation of top executives. The concern, how they've dealt with survivors of abuse.
These are very serious problems, and we want to see a solution, but the truth has to be our goal.
He's also focused on racial reconciliation and tells CBN critical race theory is not the answer.
The truth is the power is not in a theory. The power to bring healing and hope and togetherness is in the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Southern Baptists are keenly aware of an ongoing drop in membership. Still, church planting is aggressive and diverse. Last year, more than 800 new congregations joined, with the majority non-Anglo. Litton, a longtime planter, currently pastors in Mobile, Alabama. The son of a sailor in Virginia Beach, he says his mother's friend called the 700 Club years ago when his father's alcoholism had taken over the family.
She called and said, hey, you need to pray for this family. They're in crisis, and we really were.
Shortly after, a local pastor prayed with his dad.
His life was so transformed. He became the most amazing soul winner I've ever known.
It's a mission that clearly helped to prepare his son to lead millions of other soul winners at this crucial moment. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Here are some other stories making headlines now in the CBN newsroom. A Philippine military aircraft carrying troops crashed after missing the runway Sunday. The Air Force C-130 crashed in the southern province of the Philippines, killing at least 17 military personnel, at least 40 rescued from the burning wreckage. It's not clear on what caused that crash. Rescue workers are searching for survivors after a mudslide hit an area of Japan. The mudslide struck the Izusan neighborhood just southwest of Tokyo. Crews are going through the mud and debris looking for those feared missing. 80 people are still unaccounted for. President Biden celebrated the 4th of July with a barbecue at the White House. The event included 1,000 military and essential workers. This after the Biden administration missed its July 4th goal of 70% of Americans receiving at least one vaccination shot. Biden says if you haven't gotten vaccinated, do it now. Coming up, we take you to Myanmar, where Operation Blessing is providing aid to those in need.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. More than 800 people are dead and an estimated 4,500 injured in the Asian nation of Myanmar as security forces continue their brutal crackdown on protesters of the military coup, and thousands more are fleeing to jungle camps for safety. As Lucille Toulousan shows us, that's where CBN's Operation Blessing is providing medical help and much-needed food. A caution to our viewers, some of the images in this story are disturbing.
Myanmar's military and police forces fire at protesters armed with mere sticks and slingshots, often killing innocent civilians, including children. In this surveillance video, soldiers are seen shooting randomly at 3 young men, killing one of them. In the midst of all these military crackdowns, the ousted civilian government formed the National Unity Government. Majority of the people of Myanmar are hoping that leaders of democratic countries and international communities will recognize it to be the rightful government, and by doing so stop the military from killing their own people. So Myint recounts the day he joined the protests. We shall hide his identity for security reasons.
At that time, I had 2 shields. I moved to the front to protect others, but someone fired at me. I was hit in my hand and the bullet also hit my chest.
So Myint helps his widowed mother take care of their family. He needed multiple surgeries on his wounded hand in order to use it again. The Christian church in his village sought the help of Operation Blessing staff. They took So Myint to a hospital and took care of his surgeries.
I praise God for the many blessings that He grants me. This is the first time I experience so much care. I extend my heartfelt thanks to God for saving my life and everyone for helping and taking care of me during my healing process.
Unfortunately, shooting victims like So Myint can't go back home because the military will arrest them. So they flee like thousands of other families who now must live in the jungle.
I feel the pain of the parents when their children are crying because they are hungry. We don't even know where to get food and clean water. We live in fear. Fighter jets fly over our heads every day. We cannot use the light at night because the military might see us.
To alleviate the miserable living conditions of the refugees, a team from Operation Blessing risked arrest and traveled through rough terrain and rivers to provide them with food, hygiene kits, medicine, and other basic needs.
Your support means a lot to us, such as the rice, salt, oil, and the roof protection is very important during this rainy season. I thank Operation Blessing for coming to provide our needs in this difficult time.
The Operation Blessing team is asking for prayers as they continue to provide relief to internally displaced persons in the conflict areas in Myanmar. Lucille Talusan, CBN News.
Still ahead, a super weapon that could annihilate our electric grid, crippling our whole country. Find out more next.
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in $1?
There are 20 nickels in $1.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, Get your free copy at CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hackers are just keystrokes away from sending our cities into darkness and frying our nation's power supply. There's concern also over what happens if North Korea obtains a nuclear weapon. Pyongyang has a so-called super weapon that could annihilate our electric grid. So what can be done to protect the homeland? George Thomas gives us some answers.
From natural phenomena to cyber hacks like the massive SolarWinds operation and recent attack to the Colonial gas pipeline, security experts warn it's clear that most businesses and key infrastructure like power grids across this country are woefully unprepared to meet such threats.
They went after our gas and they went after our hot dogs. No one is out of bounds here. Everyone is in play.
Lawmakers like Senator Bob Hall of Texas also worry that means hackers could be just a few keystrokes away from turning the lights out in cities around our country.
We are certainly vulnerable across the board to natural and man-made threats to our electrical grid system that could render it unrepairable in our lifetime.
Hall tells CBN News that he's especially concerned about an electronic magnetic pulse, or EMP, attack against the grid.
It entails simply one small nuclear weapon being detonated above the central part of the United States over Nebraska, Kansas area would put out create a pulse from coast to coast and border to border that would totally annihilate our electric system.
There's really no excuse for the country to be vulnerable to EMP.
Dr. Peter Pry, a former CIA intelligence officer, sits on the Department of Homeland Security's EMP task force. He's out with a report this week concluding that North Korea is now in possession of EMP weapons so strong that no electric grid could survive from such an attack.
North Korea almost certainly has developed super EMP weapons. These are nuclear weapons that are specialized to produce extraordinarily powerful electromagnetic pulse effects, and it would make it, along with Russia and China, one of the few nations in the world that has these weapons.
San Antonio, Texas is now leading the nation's efforts to defend against such electromagnetic threats. In collaboration with the Air Force's Joint Base San Antonio, retired Brigadier General Guy Walsh, along with teams of researchers, scientists, and security experts, are studying grid vulnerabilities and deploying measures to protect them from getting fried. For obvious security reasons, Walsh won't divulge specifics, but says their goal is
to really look across the board at training, at education, and the technologies that are going to help make the electrical grid both resilient to attack, but able to recover more quickly.
Meanwhile, grid operators in some regions of the country are also heeding warnings to prepare for solar storms and sunspots blasting particles into space, called coronal mass ejections. William Murtaugh's group at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, maintains a direct line with all the electric companies in the event of a geomagnetic eruption.
When we see one of these large eruptions occurring on the sun and what we call a coronal mass ejection coming towards Earth, we initiate this hotline call and we make communication with essentially the entire grid, owners and operators across the nation.
Researchers with the U.S. Geological Survey released this map last year showing grid systems in the Midwest and Eastern Seaboard that are particularly vulnerable to solar storms. Murtaugh says electricity operators are now constantly assessing areas of vulnerability.
If there's vulnerability to certain equipment, maybe they can modify that equipment, the manufacturing of that equipment, to make it hardened, to make it better protected against the geomagnetic storm. There are many different actions they can take to ensure that the grid stays up and running during these big geomagnetic storms.
Still, the big challenge is that many of America's electricity systems weren't designed or built with the thought of being protected against cyber threats or EMP attacks.
The systems themselves are very antiquated. They're very old. Security is very difficult to do on these types of devices. And we've seen in prior attacks where Russia has infiltrated our power grid from a military preparedness perspective, which means in the event that there is a conflict, could Russia impact our grid?
Former NSA hacker David Kennedy tells CBN News that only a few of them are even prepared to handle today's level of hacking sophistication, especially those attacks coming from China.
China is very pressing because they have a very long-term view. They're very focused on intellectual property theft, as well as their military capabilities from a cyber warfare perspective. I mean, they're handing it to us here in the United States from a cyber warfare perspective, and they're definitely scary.
The energy industry is the third most targeted sector for cyber criminals, behind only finance and manufacturing. And according to the Energy Department, hackers have the capability to shut down America's power grid.
There are very malign actors who are trying, even as we speak. There are thousands of attacks on all aspects of the energy sector and the private sector generally.
A new survey this week from the nonpartisan group Protect Our Power found a majority of people support federal funding to secure our nation's electric grid ahead of potential catastrophe.
It so often is the case when we face challenges or threats on the horizon, we're better off dealing with it before it hits as opposed to after it hits.
George Thomas, CBN News.
Coming up, this is no ordinary dog. See how he saved this guy's life in more ways than one.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
From Washington, D.C.
Good evening and welcome to Faith Nation.
Uncompromising stories, interviews, and analysis from veteran journalists David Brody, John Jessup, Jenna Browder, and Eric Phillips, bringing you the political news that matters.
Regulations on the energy industry are going to have dramatic ripple effects throughout the economy.
News you can trust.
We're people who are committed to protecting the most weakest and the most vulnerable.
Watch Faith Nation, weeknights at 6.
Thanks for staying with NewsWatch. Former Navy SEAL Will Chesney helped complete the harrowing mission that took down Osama bin Laden. In his book, he documents the experience and pays tribute to the heroic actions of his closest partner. It's a story with a surprising twist. Eric Phillips explains.
Will Chesney's book, No Ordinary Dog, focuses on his four-legged partner Cairo as much as himself, if not more. He explained to me how Cairo saved his life in more ways than one. So he decided to highlight the major role working dogs play in our military.
You know, I don't like talking about myself, but I'll talk about Cairo. He's pretty easy to talk about.
Retired Navy SEAL Will Chesney says he's always had a love for dogs and knew as a teenager he wanted to be a Navy SEAL. It wasn't until years later, after achieving that goal, that his two loves came together after hearing the testimonials of military dog handlers.
Raise your hand if a dog's ever saved your life, and everybody's hand just went up pretty much.
The first time I met Cairo was at Dam Neck at the training facility. And I remember him coming out towards the bunkers that we were working on, and he was a good-looking, laid-back, calm dog. He had a great bite. He was a really good worker. I got pretty lucky getting him.
Non-stop training built trust, relationship, and a deep dedication.
You know, we asked these dogs to do some pretty dangerous stuff. You know, sometimes they lay down their lives to save ours.
That almost happened during a 2009 mission in Afghanistan when Cairo was shot while protecting his teammates.
When I saw him, he collapsed. I thought he had passed away. Thought he was dead right there.
But Cairo survived and went on to take part in a mission to finally get Osama bin Laden, the infamous mastermind behind 9/11.
But my job that night was to do sweeps of the perimeter, putting the dog in the best position to find any explosives or tunnel systems. I like to say I was just there to babysit Cairo pretty much and let him do all the work. And I remember, I'll never forget when we landed, just looking around and seeing that everybody was still alive and okay, and we had accomplished the mission. And I got to do it with my dog.
Assignments then took Chesney and Cairo in different directions. About a year later, a grenade blast left Chesney with a brain injury and post-traumatic stress, resulting in a difficult discharge from the Navy. By then, Cairo was also reaching the end of his career, and Chesney was able to bring him home.
Cairo was a huge part, and I would think getting me through the tough times as well. Cairo helped me get through some really tough times.
After watching Cairo suffer from cancer, Chesney had him put down in 2015. He says he wrote No Ordinary Dog to honor Cairo's memory, while also bringing attention to military working dogs and service animals in general.
He took care of me, I took care of him. And I just want to tell Cairo's story.
The ultimate love story of man and man's best friend. I should mention that during the height of the pandemic, service animals were used to help bring stress therapy to soldiers fighting against COVID-19 and some of the hardest hit areas. Eric Phillips, CBN News.
They are hardworking dogs, that's for sure. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com, or you can talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.